Thank you for your patience, everybody. Got a few things prepared and ready to go. Thank you for being here. We have a jam. This is a jammed room. We even have all our cyber heroes, our ThreatLocker people. Big welcome to them. So this is the moment when failure is not an option. At Zero Trust World, we talk about assuming breach, eliminating blind trust, and building systems that hold under pressure. But what happens when we take that step one further? When we say security cannot fail, not shouldn't, not hopefully won't, cannot. That's the challenge behind what we're about to see. What you're about to witness is the result of taking and tackling something massively complex, something the industry has struggled with for years. The reason this comes down to the wire isn't because it's rushed. It's because it's hard. Because pushing boundaries in cybersecurity means solving problems others haven't solved yet. This is about strengthening default deny postures while simplifying operations, not adding noise, not adding friction, but delivering security that is both uncompromising and usable at scale. And there's no one better to lead this moment than the two people at the helm of that vision. Danny Jenkins, CEO and co-founder of ThreatLocker, has spent over 2 decades securing networks on both the red and blue teams, and is now one of the industry's strongest voices advocating for zero trust and default deny security. Joining him will be Rob Allen, Chief Product Officer at ThreatLocker, who brings over 20 years of experience in IT and deep technical expertise in building security solutions that really help organizations strengthen defenses without ever sacrificing operational efficiency. This is the vision. Zero Trust World, are we ready? We got Danny and Rob in the building. Are we ready? Make some noise!
Attention ThreatLocker Launch Control and Zero Trust World attendees. This is your flight director, Gene Kranz. Stand by for go for product launch. Network team, go. Security operations,
We go fly.
access control, go flight. Infrastructure,
Or go flight.
compliance,
Or go.
engineering,
Go.
cyber hero team,
Go flight.
Danny and Rob comedy team,
Go.
ThreatLocker crew. I have a go for my team. Thank you for carrying on the tradition of failure is not an option. We're go for launch.
Good morning, everybody. Hi. Now, Gene Kranz, he is an awesome guy,
A living legend.
a living legend, and he invented the phrase, failure is not an option. And when he did it, people's lives are on the line.
Absolutely.
We're not that important. But Rob has had a lot of experience meeting Gene recently.
I had the pleasure of meeting Gene a couple of times, organized by our friend Irish Mike, who I'm sure is somewhere.
Irish Mike, are you here?
Thank you, Irish Mike. But yeah, I met Gene a couple of times. I met him in his home. He showed me lots of stuff. It was absolutely amazing. And then we made some videos from an interview that we went to Houston to do last Monday. Now, shortly after we left, we received word that Gene had been taken into hospital. So
He's okay, by the way.
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that. He is fine. He is alive. Just want to confirm. But despite
thanks to
my
Rob.
trying to kill an American icon, he is still alive. He is still with us. And I just wanted to say thank you to Gene, if he's watching, and get well soon. So, round of applause for Gene.
Now, much like when rockets are launched into space, people often focus on the astronaut. Everyone knows Neil Armstrong was the first person to set foot on the moon. What they don't focus on is the hundreds of people behind them. And today, we have a whole bunch of cool new shit. And, well, I am exhausted. There are people even more exhausted than me. And I think one of the things I love about working on these projects is I get to see team members who will bleed to get this shit to work. Like, they will do unbelievable things. And I have been working 20+ hour shifts straight with these guys, and they will do everything you can imagine to make it work. Now, we often think about software, we're coding, but it's the developers, the UI designers, the business analysts, the SQL databases, the infrastructure team, which I have called several times over the last few months at middle of the night hours to get our data centers live.
Several?
Several?
Dozens?
Maybe.
Yes.
Hey, it's numbers. And I think what I've learned from this is what we've built and the pleasure of the people I've had to work with has been, the people I've had the opportunity to work with has been an absolute pleasure. And some of them are in the room here. So before we talk about what they've done, because everyone just gets distracted with the bells and whistles, I want to really thank them at the back and give them a round of applause and for all of the hard work they've done. Now, I've just realized we have slides. Do we have a clicker?
Do we have a clicker? Probably not.
I imagine someone's going to run out very quickly with a clicker for us right now.
Somebody's going to magic into existence here. Can I just say, by the way, this is the 5th Zero Trust World? Sixth. I think it's is it? It's the fourth one I've been at.
Yeah, but you were stuck in
and we've made it this far without being cancelled. Now, this may be the day. It may not be the day. But again, I wanted to mention the fact that we've made it this far without getting cancelled. I do also want to do a running S-bomb count. Danny 2, Rob 0. Okay, so I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Okay, we'll stick with that, Rob. Okay, what is our mission? When we build product, when we think about delivering solutions, we have one mission. And that is to change the paradigm of security from default allow to default deny. Now, that doesn't mean making people's lives easy, but it means stopping threats with tangible results. And if we go back to 2017, when we first launched, that meant blocking untrusted software. And yes, that was our miserable logo with the thumbprint back in 2017. And we set out this goal that we're going to make it so easy for people to block untrusted software, they're going to do it, because right now they're not. That means blocking ransomware, that means blocking malware, that means blocking TeamViewer, AnyDesk, anything you don't want in your environment. But that wasn't good enough, because you know what happens when you start to solve problems? People start questioning, well, what about fileless malware? By the way, this is our portal back in 2018. Isn't it beautiful?
Tremendous.
And by the way, before this, you'll notice there was a green logo. We actually had a green logo for a while there. But then we wanted to expand that. So we started talking about things like ring fencing. How do we stop apps doing more than they need to? How do we stop in-memory attacks? How do we stop PowerShell living off the land? How do we stop administrative privileges being released, abused, storage devices, network controls? And we've continued to evolve this platform with the core focus of how do we deny by default and make your lives as easy as possible to do that, ultimately reducing the surface area of attack. Now, we did all that, and I was really happy. And then those Mac people came along and said, why don't we have this on a Mac?
Just want to say officially, the saddest day of my working life was the first day I started working for ThreatLocker. I had the most amazing iMac Pro sitting on my desk back home in Ireland. Couldn't leave the house.
You had an iMac Pro?
It was amazing, and I loved it dearly. And I said to Danny, okay, I'm going to use this for demos because it's got lots of cores, it's amazing, I've got all the memory. And he said, no. He said, we don't have a Mac agent. And that broke my heart. But the happiest day was the day we did have a Mac agent, and I can now use a Mac again. So it all worked out in the end.
So it wasn't the day you got married or the day your daughters were born?
I said my working life. I just want to be clear. I said the happiest day of my working life in case my wife is watching.
So we started expanding our platform, and that meant expanding it to Macs and Linux and Windows XP.
In, I believe, 2025 was when the XP agent came out. And that feels really weird to say that we brought an XP agent into the world in 2025.
It's about as popular as Macs.
It is. No clapping Mac jokes.
And we'll continue to expand our platform to make sure you can get the coverage you need across all of your devices, because it's not good enough to have half of your environment secured. Now, one of the things that people often don't realize is they buy software, and they think software does a task, but we don't sell software, we sell solutions. And what that means is in the back end, things happen to make it work. There's about 110,000 unique files released every single month as part of Windows updates. And nobody here thinks about that, because if they're using ThreatLocker, we just catalog those files for you. You say, okay, you've got a policy for Windows, we're going to allow those Windows files. You've got a policy for Mac, we're going to allow those Mac files. And that's made up of over 700 people now. 500 or 600 of them are right here in Orlando. And we have a ThreatLocker Labs team, which literally they spend 24 hours a day making sure every update for over 10,000 apps are allowed if you've got a policy for them. Our MDR team, which do nothing but call me saying, why are you trying to stop ThreatLocker? I say, well, I'm doing a debug, and they just yell at me and say, you're not allowed to do that. We've got support team, and I think hopefully a lot of people here have had the experience of dealing with our support team, and I'd like to give them a round of applause, actually, because 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, they pick up the phone. They get on calls, and they make sure that everything is easy, and our approvals team. Now, as we've built this support, this back end to the solution, we've also learned a lot. So people often think, well, how do you make this so easy? Why is your approval process so easy? Why is whitelisting so easy? Well, we actually manage over we do cyber hero approvals, we call it, for 1.2 million endpoints. We are the biggest consumer of our own product. So when it takes us 10 seconds longer to approve something, we feel the pain. The testing environment was built because we are the biggest user of our product, and we knew that it was needed. And we did the same with our MDR team. And that allows us to expand into other products like EDR, because we now know what these guys are doing. And it's all about how do we make the product easier. Now also, when we think about security, if configured properly, there is no such thing as unpenetrable security. But did you ever hear of anyone stealing a TV from the White House? Not possible. Now, from my house, probable. What you can do is build really, really strong defenses. You can essentially build a vault around your computer. And when you're running ThreatLocker on your endpoints, when you're using our allow listing, our ring fencing, our network controls, when you're blocking inbound ports and validating connected devices, when you're ring fencing PowerShell and stopping applications run, you're essentially turning your endpoints into vaults without giving your users pain points. But one of the things we found over the last 5 years is with the 50,000+ companies that use ThreatLocker, we're tracking 20 to 30 ransomware attacks. Every single time there was a real attack, it came down to people not shutting the vault door. So they went out and got this big vault. It was really nice and really expensive. Or not expensive, it's not expensive.
Surprisingly reasonable.
And they didn't close the door. And it was like, well, you know, it was in monitor-only mode, and that's really not going to block anything. It's just going to tell you, hey, I would have blocked this. So we started building a solution this year, DAC. What was the original name of DAC, Rob?
Dumbass configurations.
Ha! You got one word.
I think we missed a trick. I think it should be DAM, Defense Against Misconfigurations. But we'll shut down on that as well.
We didn't have a name for it. It's called Defense Against Configurations. But internally, we wanted to make sure you were aware when you weren't locking the door. And we went out first just to look at our own configurations. We started looking at every configuration that customers did wrong, and we started checking every endpoint every day. Is this right? Is this wrong? And then suddenly we started, well, why are we just looking at ThreatLocker configurations? Why don't we look at Windows configurations? Why doesn't your screen lock after 20 minutes? Why
don't we look at Mac configurations?
Oh, Mac configurator.
DAC for Mac is a thing. DAC for Mac is a thing.
Yeah, DAC for Mac is a thing. So we started looking at, and now we look over 200 configurations.
217, I think I saw yesterday.
217 configurations on every device every day to make sure you know what you should be doing in your environment. Whether it's advanced policies, simple policies, we score them and we give you a nice dashboard. And this has been really, really successful. We also added cloud detection last year, I think, and it was painful. Anything that involves integrating with Microsoft is painful, just to
Can't
give you a heads
confirm.
up. And we started seeing threats from Office 365. And something suddenly changed. Because what we realized is our MDR team only ever get real alerts on endpoints when someone left the vault door open. But every day, they make 20+ calls saying one of your mailboxes is being compromised. More embarrassing for me, in the last 2 months, 2 of our salespeople have had those calls. 2 people who go through cybersecurity training every month, who are supposed to be smart in the industry, put their username, their password, and their dual-factor credentials into a phishing site. And this scares the crap out of me. And if that wasn't scary enough, we did an internal pen test. Now, we got FedRAMP last year, and now we're coming up for our annual renewal. And we do pen tests all the time. And part of the annual renewal is you have to do an internal pen test. Now, I did tell our security guys, we should do really, really aggressive pen tests all the way through the year, but the one that's required for the compliance, don't make it so good. Unfortunately, they didn't get that memo. Because we don't want to have to explain to the auditors why someone got tricked. And what they did is they went out and they literally looked at public information to try and phish our team. And they came up with this email. And it went out to all of our solution engineers that are listed as speakers on the website. And it said, ZTW is quickly approaching, and we're thrilled to have you part of the existing event, which to me is just too polite for our events department. Sorry, Heather.
Now, I would say as well that this email was sent from the person who organizes it, which again, it was publicly available that this person would be involved in the organization of it.
The email was sent from that person's name at ZTW-ThreatLocker.com.
Yes, and they are, as a rule, incredibly polite.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So maybe I just don't read the emails.
But no, I mean, this looks incredibly believable.
Incredibly effective, I can tell you.
Incredibly believable.
But they gave a link to SharePoint. 5 engineers. These are cybersecurity engineers. Clicked on this link and entered their phishing credentials. 5. And one of them was a VP. You can imagine how that call went between me and him. He said, well, in fairness, I was expecting the email. I said, in fairness, were you expecting to put your credentials in a website that ended in ZTW-ThreatLocker.com? And he said, oh, okay, that's a good point. But this scares the crap out of me, because this is happening all the time. I've spoken to so many customers over the last few days that say our biggest challenge is customers getting hit by, our users getting hit by these phishing attacks. So we started looking at, well, we have to stop this. And detecting and responding isn't good enough. And I'll tell you why it's not good enough. There's 2 salespeople that we detected and successfully isolated attackers out of their account. They're the ones I know about. What about the ones that didn't create inbox forwarding rules, that didn't connect from a server in China or trip impossible travel rules? What about the ones that just went in their email and read their emails and copied them out? And it scares me. And I think everyone here knows this pain. So we went off and said, how do we actually grant access without destroying the user? So we came up with this concept, Zero Trust Cloud Access. And here's the worst thing about this project. We literally scrapped the code base multiple times.
Can I just
go ahead,
clarify something? He literally scrapped the code base multiple times. There was no we.
Actually, I was accused of being the only negative contributor to our
Most
GitHub
recently
repository.
at 2 a.m. on Monday night, if I'm not much mistaken.
Some of it. Look, so here was our requirements. We have to deliver something completely seamless. Because the moment I give a user something that stops them accessing their email, they walk away. They say, turn it off. I'm not going to do that. And the challenge with this was we're trying to secure somebody else's system. So what we want to do is we want to actually make sure that we can get their system secure and give the customer secure access without anyone allowing them to phish. So what we ended up with is this idea of zero trust cloud access. And ultimately what happens, so I'm losing my voice, is we have an agent. And the agent isn't using a VPN tunnel. It's brokering to a data center. So we've deployed, I think, 14 data centers in the last 6 weeks. And we're not talking about AWS, we span up them in the cloud. Someone physically plugged servers in, mounted racks, installed switches, installed firewalls, and installed lots of operating systems. And that's how busy our infrastructure team has been. And that wasn't all in the US. There's 7 of those are in the US. I think the countries we added, and if I say them wrong, I apologize. France, Italy, Germany, London.
That's not a country.
Sorry?
That's not a country.
Okay. The United Kingdom, or Great Britain, or England. You could take either of them.
None of them are
There's another one in Europe. I've forgotten it. I don't know. There's another one in Europe. And
Germany?
Then Dubai, Saudi Arabia, and then 7 in the United States. That's in addition to the ones we've already got in Australia, in Canada, and we'll continue to expand that footprint. But we wanted to make it so it was completely seamless and unaffected to the user. So first of all, the idea of routing all traffic, even through that many data centers with gigabit backbones, is just not ideal. So we said, how do we route exactly what we need? So we came up with an agent that essentially brokers the exact protocols and ports you need to be able to securely access your SaaS apps. So that can include Microsoft 365, it can include GitHub, it can include Jira, it can include ConnectWise, it can include Salesforce, it can include thousands of other apps. And you can now configure those apps to restrict access to those networks. But because we did it in such a customized way and researched all those apps, we were able to limit which protocols, which types of traffic. So when you make a Teams call, it goes direct through Microsoft's media servers. When you make a Teams media share, it goes direct to the media set. Same with Zoom. But when you try and authenticate or access a mailbox completely seamlessly, it routes that protocol through the broker. No extra IP addresses, no network adapters on the machine, completely seamlessly routed through the broker. Now that sounds really cool, but how hard is that to set up?
Quite, it turns out.
Sorry?
Well, sorry, to implement was quite hard,
Yeah,
as is demonstrated by you deleting the code base several times, including in the middle of the night on Monday. But
It was bad code.
How hard is it to set up? Not at all.
The idea for you as an end user is completely seamless. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how easy this is for you to deploy. And if I can switch to my screen here, I'm also going to share my phone. So I'm going to use the phone first. I can just about cope with Apple phones, but Apple computers I'm not going to go near. Okay, we also have a magic trick. So if we can switch to the computer, there you go, and the phone. Safe phone, not my phone. I was too scared of text messages coming through that might get me cancelled.
I offered repeatedly to use my phone, and he refused. He thought ChatGPT might say something inappropriate to me.
Rob has a very aggressive relationship with his AI agent. So essentially, I'm going to show you a couple of things that we're changing in the portal. Oh, I'm not logging in as Mandy. And I will zoom in as much as I can for everyone at the back once I get logged in. And I think as we tested this last week, we found it worked much better in dark mode on the screen. So I'll do that. OK, so the first thing I'm going to show you is how easy it is. We came up with this idea of, right now we have web control, we have network control, and we're still going to have those available as features. We have ring fencing, but we also wanted to create this idea of these secure network policies. We wanted to make sure that there was no confusion, because one of the big challenges customers have right now is they say, hey, I want to grant Bob access to this server. Why is this so hard? I have to create an inbound policy, I have to create an outbound policy. So we changed the whole way that works, and we also made it flat, so you can have web control policies above network control policies and say, okay, I'm allowing Facebook to this user, and if I've blocked 443 further down the list, that's okay, because they're allowed Facebook. I'm going to focus on the SaaS apps first. And this is how easy it is to get started. Now, we have about an hour onboarding call, at which point you're going to be assigned static IP addresses, backup servers, and things like that, so you don't have to worry about failures and choose your locations. But after that, you go in here and you say, I want to publish SaaS access to one of my users. And I will zoom in as much as I can. And I'm going to pick Microsoft 365 because it's good. It gives you nice instructions. And if everything's working correctly, when I click on this link, it should have gone live at 11 a.m. I was ready to say, Houston, we have a problem, but apparently no problem. So this tells you exactly how to do everything in Office 365, so your accounts are secured. And then we're going to say, well, who in our account office do we want to allow access to Office 365? We're going to say Culture Global. And I'm going to say all of the users and groups, so the whole company and all authorized apps. And click Finish. It's going to give me a nice summary. And then I click Create. And now I can set up access to Office 365. Now, here's the problem. How do I give my users access? Because here's the users can be phished. So we had a username and password, and then this wonderful thing came along called dual-factor authentication, or multi-factor authentication. And the idea is that you have something and you know something. So users can no longer be phished, or they can no longer, their password can't be used against them. But suddenly we found that users are willing to give things away to random people on the phone, including their dual-factor code. So we want to tie your authentication to your device as well. So you're already authenticating the user inside your SaaS application, but how do we authenticate the device? So the next thing we want to do is say, which devices do we want in our organization to have it? Very, very easy. We can install an agent on our phones, on our computers. Well, it's in the ThreatLocker agent out of the box, and we can just very easily download that. This agent, the user will never have to think about past the initial install. It works for bring your own device, as well as company devices. If you're using a company device, you can push it out through an MDM very easily. If people have their own device, you can say, okay, we can grant access to our secure resources, but it's only going to route that traffic. They get the app on the phone, and this is how simple it looks. I never actually checked the email on this. I'm going to find out now that I get logged in. Ooh. Oops, Houston.
I told you we should have used my phone.
We may end up switching to my phone. I didn't add an email account on the phone to demonstrate. But I'm going to ask, actually, if someone doesn't mind bringing my phone up here, and I'm going to put it in Do Not Disturb so no one texts me. OK, because I didn't even add the email account to the test phone. By the way, I did, but someone wiped it this morning. But I will show you. So the user, very, very easily, has this app. To register, oh my God, I've got so many text messages.
Confusingly, the Houston, we have a problem. We do actually have a staff member who made a lot of the really cool videos called Houston, but when he said Houston, we have a problem, he wasn't referring to that Houston, just to be clear.
Okay, so I'm going to switch phones now, and I'm going to pray this works. Oh, let me just do one quick thing quickly. Check I don't have too much email that I don't want people to see.
Danny. Hide Tinder. Hide Tinder. Just, they'll recognize
my wife is in the room.
They'll recognize the logo. Just hide it.
Okay, I'm gonna delete some things from my email. Not that they're bad, but I don't want to see already customers. Oh my God, how much crap do I have in my email? Accepted. Okay, I think I've got something that's not too bad now. I'll just try to remove all the customer names. OK, so I'm going to plug in my phone, and I've got my email. And here's the thing. As a user, I need to have access to my email all the time, and hopefully the phone will come up pretty soon. There we go. We have the phone. And I have the ThreatLocker app on the phone. Now, to install this, it literally took me 2 minutes. I downloaded it from the App Store, scanned a QR code, or you can send it through MDM. For all of our staff, we pushed it out within an hour through an MDM to 350 people who have phones in ThreatLocker. On the computer, it's already built into the agent, so you don't have to think about it. Once you get it, you're connected. You're connected to the secure network. If I go to the internet, I can actually immediately see whatever I need to see. And I'm just going to check that I didn't have any data on there. Just IP numbers, that's OK. This looks like a typical phone.
Danny, can I just confirm, is this the bit where you're trying to go to a porn site?
Yes.
OK.
No, I'm not going to porn.
Fun fact, a large proportion of our company had to sign a You May See Porn waiver because some of them are cataloging websites, some of them are testing products like this. So I don't know if everybody here has signed the You May See Porn waiver. No?
Okay,
Yes?
I'm not
Anyone?
going to do that, Rob.
Go on, I dare you.
Okay.
Plus, I will say, by the way, this demonstration here, this is what I would describe as a win-win, okay? Because there are two possible outcomes. One is that we all see porn. The other is that it gets blocked and the demonstration works. So
We're not doing this. I'm going to do the web demonstration on the other phone, by the way, because, okay, so here I have my phone. This is the most important part. I am absolutely terrified. I have 100,000 invalid logins to my mailbox every single day, every day of the week. So if I go into ThreatLocker right now and hit disconnect, immediately, if I go back to Outlook and hit thing, I now am prompted to sign in. If I try and sign in, I can steal a token, I can copy a token, it's impossible. If I cancel that, close that, doesn't matter, I'm going to go back into here. Once I hit connect on here, it will stay connected. I can restart my phone, I can do whatever I want. It does not matter, it's going to be completely seamless to the user. It will stay connected. If you're using MDM, you can block people accessing the outside of the tunnel, so they have to be connected, so you can reroute their DNS through the tunnel and make sure that they're using it. But if you're not using MDM and you want to say, okay, you're using work device, when you're connected, you can't go to Tinder. When you're not connected, you can go to Tinder. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm reconnected, and I'll just go back into Outlook, and literally, I can swipe down, and everything's great there. So very, very easy, very seamless user experience. And the most important thing here, to publish that policy took me 30 seconds. Most of the time is just going to be deciding what SaaS apps do you want to publish. Let's make sure we're doing the right thing for you. And it took 30 seconds. To push out the agent, you can push it out through MDM. We did it through our entire company within an hour. And it was very, very easy and seamless to do. The agent already exists on your Windows machines, your Mac machines, and everything else. Could be Salesforce, could be GitHub, could be Jira, could be any SaaS app. You can just put those IP restrictions in, and you know that when your user gets phished, no one is going to be able to get into their account unless they have one of your devices. Now,
just one little enhancement to that as well, which is you may have noticed when Danny when Danny connected to the VPN, it did do a Face ID. So that is identity built into this as well, because it doesn't matter if somebody has my phone, they don't have my face. So it is checking identity when it's connecting to the secure network.
So whether your phone, whether your computer, you're connected, you're permanent. Now on your computer you don't have to connect, it's permanently tunnels, or brokers, sorry, it doesn't tunnel. And the way it works is it literally takes HTTPS sessions from your computer, HTTPS sessions from the server, or the cloud provider, actually we'll get to the cloud server in a moment, and it sends that up. And then it says this traffic goes through that broker, and it will redirect it out. And like I said, it will send the Teams voice and media traffic directly to make sure your user has completely seamless experience. Now, one other benefit you get, because we've now extended access to a connection on your phone, even though my traffic isn't all routing through it, I still get web filtering. So I can go into my browser here, and I can go to Bet365. This is how you demonstrate web filtering. Boo! And, apparently I can't even get on the internet, so that's... And it's going to give me an error saying you can't connect to this site, because we're just going to, what happens in this case is it routes the DNS for the phone. You can track the individual DNS for the individual phone. You know whose user it is, whose phone it is. It routes it directly to the other server, and it will say domain not found at some point in the very near future. I'll just create a new.
I just want to say, by the way, so he has very much taken the coward's way out, which is he's using betting, gambling, as the example. When I was supposed to be doing this as of about 20 minutes ago, I was fully prepared to try and access porn, just so everybody knows. He's going for
No,
betting.
that's not happening. Okay. It doesn't load, it'll just black holes the DNS. So what this allows you to do is filter bad sites well connected to your corporate network, and if it's a personal device, they can disconnect and they can do whatever they want, but as soon as they want to access your resources, it's good. From the computer, it's completely seamless as well. Now, I'd like to move back to the slides if we can, because I want to bring up that map again. And again, this is how it works. Whether it's a phone or an agent, it makes a secure broker connection to our broker. We did some speed tests, by the way, using various VPN technologies. The fastest we found was WireGuard on the Windows agent, on Windows and Mac, and we didn't use it, by the way, versus the broker. So we took a gigabit line, we ran a speed test on the gigabit line, it came back in 900s. We connected it to a WireGuard VPN on the same server as the broker, just as a test, and we got about 300 to 400 megabits of throughput. When we did the same speed test through the broker, we got 900 plus megabytes or megabits of throughput. So much, much faster by using a broker. We developed our own TCP protocol. Everything goes over TLS, but it's tunneled in our own protocol to make the overhead incredibly low, and we have lots of data centers around the world. Once you're doing direct traffic to your voice, it will go directly there, but everything else gets brokered through our secure connection. Now, I am not as confident as this guy. Anyone remember this guy? But I'm not going to do this. That's a really bad idea. Put your social security number on a bus is not a smart idea. By the way, it didn't work out well for him. But I could give you my username, my password for my email right now. I could give you my dual-factor code, and you will not be able to get in my email unless you steal my phone.
That's a trick statement, by the way. He rotates his passwords. He's got two of them. One is I love Apple, and the other is Rob is the best. So just so you know.
OK. Now let's move on to what's next. Network access. And we think about all of the other alerts we get on our MDR right now, outside of Office 365, is someone got onto your network using your VPN and started doing bad things. Everyone used to think VPN is the most secure way you can access resources inside your company. But it's not. Log4j exposed it to thousands of vulnerabilities. People could create user accounts, they could gain full access to your network, and that is not a good way to access your network. The other problem with VPN, it kind of sucks. I mean, when you use a VPN and it disconnects, how often do you have to restart your computer? Actually, one of our infrastructure team told us, because we have VPN to our dev servers, or had, I'll say, because that's changed now. We had VPN to our dev servers that was actually restricted to the Office IP address, so it wasn't open to the world. And every time it broke, I got on a call one day and I said, hey, I can't get on. They said, you have to restart your computer 3 times. I said, who the hell do you think you're talking to?
Twice to fix it and once for good luck.
Yeah. And that is how, so VPNs just suck. So we said, well, we need to take away this gaping hole in the size of your network, but we also need to give you easy access to your resources. And we've got a magic trick today. We're going to make Macs beautiful again. Right? And
what do you mean again?
Okay,
They've
good
always
point.
been beautiful.
They were never beautiful.
He's just jealous.
Okay, so what we did is we did the same thing that we do with our cloud, but slightly different. Instead of us brokering up to our broker and then breaking out to the cloud, we now have a ZTA agent on your server, on your clients. Again, part of the agent, really, really easy to do. They create a connection. They say, I'm doing this, and it gets verified in 3 places. So the client has to verify, am I allowed to connect to this server? The broker verifies, are you allowed to connect to this server? Is this policy valid? And the server validates, are you allowed to connect to me? There's no open ports. No port scan can find anything. Just outbound 443 to our broker. Really, really easy. And I'm going to show you back on a demo how easy it is to grant access to these resources now. So if we can switch back to the laptop. And we're going to go back to here. Try to make it as much wizard-like as possible. So the first thing, what do you want to do? I want to allow device-to-device access in my organization. And you can click here. You can say, well, what service do I want to publish? I want to publish MS SQL, we'll say. My users access their database when they're at home. What port is that? We default it for you. If there's multiple ports, we'll default it. But if you decided to change it, you can change it in here. You can set schedules. You know, we had a customer in New York. They cut off all of their users' apps at 5 p.m. I don't know why anyone think they can go home at 5 p.m. We definitely don't have that policy. But you can set schedules. So if you say, I only want you to do this between Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, you can do that. You can also select a source who, not thinking about IP addresses because there's no open ports here, so you can say which computers in my organization can access this. So you can pick groups, organization, objects, and then you can pick the destination. Do I want this to be accessible to just my SQL servers? So I'm going to pick this machine here, for example. And hey, we'll even pick a Mac. Show you some love, Rob. And then we can choose which applications can access it. We might say, I want Teams to directly go out to Microsoft, but if you're using Edge, you can't communicate to it. Or I want Teams to access, or I want Office to access or SQL Management Studio to access SQL, but I don't want PowerShell to. So you can literally choose which apps. And these link to our built-in apps. You don't have to think about process paths and files. We track all the hashes, the updates, and everything else. So I can literally go in here and say Microsoft Office, if I could spell. And I can literally say Microsoft Office is allowed to talk to SQL, which would be pointless. And then I can literally just click Next and create. That's how easy it is. You can also do remote desktop. We have a lot of customers that still have RDP open on the internet. Too many.
Not only customers. One of my favorite little tasks is from time to time to go onto Shodan, and it allows you to search for ports and locations. I'd encourage anyone to do this. But if you search for example, 3389 or port equals 3389, city, Orlando, there are hundreds, 800 was the last time I checked, 800 open RDP ports to the internet. Very helpfully, it also shows you screenshots as well, so very often the username is there too. That's 800 organizations that are a guest password away from being the next victims of a ransomware attack.
Now, when you select these policies, you can actually say, I want to permit access through Zero Trust Network access, or you can just permit it locally. When you permit it locally, when your computer connects to the SQL server, the port is closed. It's going to pre-verify itself and say, hey, I'm Bob. Here's my private key, public key. Well, not. Here's my signed object with my private key, so you can use the public key to decrypt it. The other server is going to connect back, verify you are actually who you say you are. So that port will only be open locally. But when you check the box, you say you can access it in the office, or you can literally just go home, open your laptop, no connecting to a VPN, and accesses it just as easily in the office. So this is how easy it is to use this. Now, I said I was going to make Macs beautiful again, or beautiful. So we're going to ask you to bring this here because apparently we didn't pay for this.
Is this the bit where I get to show the people the proper operating system, the sexy computer?
Okay, so I'm going to switch this.
Oh, no, leave it there, leave it there. Honestly, leave it there.
Don't get your dirty Mac.
I just want you to feel uncomfortable while I rub my Mac over it. Damn.
I'll put this over here. I need to wipe this down first. Okay, so now we're going to share your screen on your Mac. We're probably going to have some resolutions and connection issues and other things like that, but we'll see how it goes. Oh, that was not planned. Okay, we got that. Okay, so
it just works, Danny.
Okay, so here what we have is we have a Mac which is just on the Wi-Fi in the hotel. It's not connected to a VPN. You got one network adapter. Do you want to do an IP config? Or what is it? Is it IP config or IF config on a Mac?
IF config.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting to have to type.
Okay. Okay. Wow, that was a lot more addresses than I expected.
Proper computer, Danny.
Okay. But you have a local Wi-Fi address somewhere?
Yes, I do.
Somewhere, I can't even see it. You know, in Windows, you can just see the IP address right up front when you type that. Okay. So anyway, he's on the local network here. Now, he's going to do two things here. He's literally going to type in a local IP address. He has no VPN tunnel. He has no IP address on that network. He's going to type in the local IP address of the SQL server. So if you want to open up your remote desktop session there.
I don't even need to type it in. It's
okay,
a Mac.
It
remembered it.
Keep going, Rob. Okay. And connect to the IP address, a local IP address on the same network.
Touché.
Now, isn't that a beautiful Mac?
That is tremendous. That is tremendous.
That's a great picture, Rob.
It is, isn't it?
Okay, now, how easy was that for your users? Don't have to think about anything, don't have to connect. Now, you can also do it by the host name. So if you don't know the IP address, you can disconnect, and we set one up by the host name.
Let me just shut this
This is
machine down and see what
absolutely
happens.
magic, because if you think how this happens, we are literally intercepting packets, deciding where they're intended to go, and capturing them and encapsulating them in a TLS tunnel. Like, this is the host name version. Looks pretty much the same. That is a
Going to the
beautiful
same place.
T-shirt you got there, Rob.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I can use AI too, you know.
You can use AI too. Who knew?
Okay, and I think essentially we'll switch back to the other laptop now, because we need a real browser.
I do have a browser, you know.
I tried to demo in Safari a minute ago. It didn't work out too well.
It's because it's a proper browser.
Okay, creating these policies is incredibly easy. You just pick the policies you want, you pick the access you want. Whether it's a website policy, you can do it from phones, you can do it from computers. Whether it's a access to one of your service policies, whether it's publishing SaaS applications, very, very simple, takes effect within 60 seconds, and very, very quick to set up. We are the first user. It took us an hour to set up. We had some bugs, I'll be honest, but it took us an hour. That's how easy this is to set up. You can see very clearly in one place what applications, what websites your users can access on your local network. And every connection, even on the local network, is completely verified. Now, I'm going to go back to the slides, if we can. OK, this is how it works. As I said before, 2 brokered connections, no open ports. Protected servers, protected end user, brokered access, true zero trust, verifying the application as well as the device is only accessing what it needs to access. Now, there's one other area I want to show you. So I'm actually going to switch back to the computer just to send these guys insane in the back. And just some of the new stuff that we've done in the dashboard. Because everything we do is how do we make your life quicker and easier. And when we started ThreatLocker, we had one feature, one product, one module. Now we have multiple. These multiple products, obviously, it gets harder to navigate. How do you figure out how to integrate things? So we started redesigning the portal to make it a lot easier. Right down from we've got a new sidebar. I'm zoomed in pretty far, so we've shrunk it down. But if I zoom out, we can see a little bit of text, so you know what you're looking at. We can very quickly see what do I want to look at. I want to look at my applications. I want to see what countries they're developed in. I want to see what policies we have for applications, what ring fencing. I want to look at my network. I can see everything in one place. Still see the legacy stuff, but all one place. I want to look at what storage is allowed in my organization. I want to look at my cloud integrations. All of this is in one place. My patch management. So one place, very easy for you to configure. We've moved threat and detect into a single location that highlights in red when you go in there, when you've got things on the board. And I know we did a session on this with a brand new interface for our detect dashboard, which will load in a second.
I'd just say it was a session led by our, how did you describe our director of detect yesterday? A
motion sensor in a safe.
Motion sensor in a bank vault with lasers. It was tremendous.
We've added all sorts of cool stuff into our detect product, such as the ability to automatically respond. Now, I think this is the most important one. I don't know if anyone joined the detect session yesterday, but we saw an attack recently where someone had RDP open, an attacker got onto their machine, and within 7 minutes, they started trying to exfil data. 7 minutes. Now, I would say we have the fastest MDR in the world. 7 minutes is, I mean, we're picking up within 2 minutes, but we're looking at a connection and we're trying to determine, is this good, is this bad? Are we going to take a server offline over it? So one of the features in, one of the features in detect, I thought you said something, sorry. One of the features in detect is you can actually create policies to automatically shut down admin tools or other parts of the system if there's an indicator of compromise while somebody's reviewing it. We added a new homepage, so you can see exactly what's happening in your environment in one place. So when you go in, you can see if you've got computers pending approval, which I didn't. You can see active threats in your environment, whether approval requests are pending. We also added this cool little chart, and we're still working on the math a little bit. But what was really interesting about this was this tells you how many hours and seconds you've spent managing ThreatLocker. And we went into the staff portal, the ThreatLocker staff, And I think it was like just over an hour and a half, just less than 2 hours in a month. That's how, was that right?
Yeah.
And you know what was terrifying about that? This is our internal, and we lock it down pretty tight. 40% of that was managing detect, and like 30% of it was probably me turning off time protection so I can actually run this debugged agent. That's how low maintenance it is. So you get this dashboard, you get to see how much time you spent in the portal, who spent the most time, you can filter by users, what they're doing with that time. And people often think this is hard, but what you'll see is it actually is a tiny bit of time compared to everything else. We can show you all of your configurations. We also added a few cool things to get around. As we add more navigation, so you can just search to any page. I want to go to policies, and it will show you all of the policies pages. I want to go to storage, so you don't have to know the page path as we get lots and lots of features built in there. And the other thing I wanted to show was the new cool DAC features. Now, DAC is a free product for all of our customers. Whatever you have, we will check we can do your endpoint checks, your 200 endpoint checks, but we'll also do your Office 365 checks now. Office 365 configurations is a big issue. So you can go into DAC, which is down here. I think they keep moving it around. And you can see everything wrong in your environment. You can also see your score against your peers. So you can see, am I 57 percentile? Am I 90 percentile? Am I 15 percentile? How well am I doing compared to other companies using ThreatLocker? And we'll give you very, very quick fixes. So I can go here, well, what are my critical risks right now? And it will show me that policy I was just talking about. Hey, you don't have a tool to automatically block admins, but here, you can go and do this, and we'll give you a policy right out of the box you can just click on and download. So this makes this very, very easy for you to fix problems, but also know what your risks are in the environment.
Identifies problem, explains problem, offers solution to problem.
And the other cool thing is it gives you a really nice PDF. I'll quickly see if I can pull one of those up. DAC report. I don't know which ones.
Back to Danny's laptop, please. Yeah, there we go.
Well, that's fine. Oh, sorry, I thought it was. Okay, and we can see, literally, we can see why you haven't got untrusted RDP blocked, why this is bad. If you don't know, maybe consider a career change, but you can see all of the things happening in your environment. Okay, so I think if we can get back to the slides, and we may have a few minutes to switch over to questions. Oh, one other final thing. There's a lot of things we do, and we want to make it as easy as you to buy these things and ingest these things as possible. Our priority is getting you to a state of zero trust. So when we think about our modules, there's two areas. There's core zero trust, which is things like blocking software, ring fencing, allow listing, network controls. And then there's full the platform, which things like web filtering or storage controls. We've created packages for both the core zero trust and from small business packages right up to enterprise packages. And this helps you decide what is the best for you to ingest. You can also still do things a la carte if you wish. It seems as though there was one other slide that Rob tried to sneak in today, so I allowed it in.
I appreciate that, Danny.
So just to make him feel a little bit better. I'll put some context around that. My daughter...
We don't need context. I think we just show the slide.
...is our PowerPoint queen. And he tried to get her to sneak in a picture of me by sending her a Teams message, and this is the Teams message he sent her.
And as you can see, he retaliated.
Actually, to be clear, I had that done well before I knew about this. I actually positioned our infrastructure team to build a server, especially with that background.
Nothing would surprise me, Danny. It was tremendous.
So I'll finish out by saying, look, if you haven't done a demo of ThreatLocker or you want to see some of the new stuff we're doing, there's a QR code there. You can schedule a demo. You can also come to any of our account managers. We are scheduling onboarding calls for our new secure networking features from the week after next. So please grab some times before they all run out. They'll have Calendly links for you on that. And I think we've got 20 minutes for questions if we have any questions from anybody. But go ahead. Does someone want to come out with a mic as well?
We have many mics.
But go ahead. You can yell and I'll repeat if you want. Absolutely, it stays on the LAN, and we have a subnet builder, which allows you to say which LANs can talk to each other. So, and actually, I'll repeat the question just because it wasn't on the mic. But essentially, when we create a ZTNA policy on the endpoint, will it route it locally if we're on the same local network? Yes, it will route it locally. And if you've got multiple local networks, we have a subnet builder that says which ones can talk to each other. So, thank you. Any other questions, please?
How does a ZTA behave with non-ThreatLocker device like a printer and ITO devices?
So you can still continue to create network policies to be able to access that. Obviously, I don't know if you're going to access a printer from home, but when you're in the office, you can still have a local policy. When you create that policy, you choose whether you want it to be ZTA and accessible from home. If it's not a ThreatLocker device, you can't access it from home, but you will be able to still access it in the office, just as you can.
I see hands up over here. Do we have microphones?
Hi, over here.
Oh, sorry.
No, all the way back here, but it's okay. So I'm sorry for any Brendas out there, but I want to go back to that email, the new email feature that gets filtered through ThreatLocker and then sent out. So Brenda from accounts payable, receives an email, and it says, so-and-so has sent you a file on SharePoint. How are we going to defend against the man-in-the-middle attack?
Okay, so essentially, and this is one of the most common things we've heard. So-and-so sent you a file, you open the file, it asks you for credentials, it links you to something. We have to accept that users are going to click those emails, and we have to accept that sometimes they're going to get through. And while we don't actually filter emails, when Brenda puts her credentials in, it's still going to be a successful phishing attack. What's going to happen, though, is those credentials are essentially going to be useless to the attacker because they will not be able to gain access to your Office 365 or your Microsoft 365 account despite them putting their password in. So what it becomes is, hey, I gave you the key for my house, but there's another door in front of it and you can't get through that because unless you come and steal my phone.
Question here. Since like this product is like a CTNA, zero trust, man in the middle, proxy type, how well does it play with the other kits in the sandbox? Because as we know, there's other products that are CTNA.
Well, so the nice thing about, and there's different ways zero trust access works or zero trust network or cloud access works. One is through brokering through custom ports, and one is through obviously VPNs. You typically want to stay away from the VPNs where you can't. Like phones have to use some VPN technologies. When you're thinking about endpoints, it really shouldn't bother other products. But if you do have two things rewriting something to the same destination, you're probably going to have a conflict. The way we do it is we actually intercept the IP address and rewrite it right at the kernel level, which means most other things won't even get to see it, but it would depend on the product. Generally speaking, you're not going to run two ZTNA products side by side, but I don't see any reason you couldn't, so long as you weren't publishing the same services with them, at which case it could be random which one it goes through. And we have a hand up over here. You want to?
To me.
Okay, so, and it's interesting because we actually write the software based on Android technology and port it to iPhone. So it's open standard React Native, I think it's called. So to answer your question about ThreatLocker control, cloud control. So we released something cloud control a year ago. It was really a very restrictive idea that you would have an app on your phone, and rather than it tunneling data, it would update Microsoft's ACL with your IP address at any point in time.
Could I just say, it was a brilliant idea. It was absolutely excellent. It was tremendously implemented. We gave Microsoft all of those IP addresses within a minute, typically. And then what happened?
The problem with cloud control is it took 15 minutes. So we really only positioned it for high-level executives. So I had it on my phone because, or anyone in our infrastructure department, because it could take 15 minutes when you changed IP addresses to be able to access your email account.
But just to confirm, it was Microsoft taking 15 minutes updating their conditional access rather than us taking 15 minutes giving them the IP addresses.
But it also required the user to open the app semi-regularly. yes to your answer to your question, we're not discontinuing that, but there wouldn't be much reason to use it because this is far more efficient at solving the problem for all users. So I think that was your first question. And I'm not aware of any issues on Android phones. We do write the program in React Native, which technically runs, so we're not writing an Apple version and an Android version. It's the same version for both phones. Apple gives us more restrictions on technologies we can use than Android, but it's the same version, and we don't have to modify it because we keep it to the least amount required by both vendors. So there shouldn't be any reason it's unstable. We have like 400 Droid phones. We don't have full-time Droid users, but we have 400 Droid. We test every model of phone like consistently. If you actually ever get to go into ThreatLocker's office, we have every model of phone and every laptop released within the last 5 years, from Lenovo, HP, Dell, Microsoft that you can think of. We even have Macs.
So the app that's actually running, what's the impact, the battery impact on the mobile device?
And I'm going to jump back to the phone screen on this. I don't know if it's, because one of the nice things about the way we've changed it is it doesn't actually require the app to run. Now, you do have multiple permissions. So in here, you have the choice to turn on location service and motion activity. In the future, we're going to allow you to have extra policies, extra conditions in your policy that says you can't access this resource outside of this geographic location. But if you don't, they're the only things that eat battery. The background services don't need to run because once it initiates that connection, it stays connected or reconnects on phone. We went down from quite high usage on the old app, which had to keep these on to keep moving and keep checking in, to very, very low to non-existent usage. It's not even showing as 1%. It's on the bottom of the app list. If you turn these features on, then it now becomes, on my phone, I noticed it would use 3% of the battery, but on the older phones with those features on, I noticed it used more like 20, 30% of the battery. And I think that's because Apple updated their location services to be more battery efficient.
All right, I have a specific question about policy creation for network access. I noticed when you were creating a new policy, all applications was in the box. When you typed out a new application, that went away. Is there any built-in prevention from re-adding all applications?
If you can't have all applications and selective applications. I'm not sure if you're asking about, hey, can I take this permission away from my administrators? And which the answer is currently no, but we always like to add those things. I think we've got probably 200 permissions in ThreatLocker now, where people have said, hey, I don't want my admins to be able to do this. But the answer is currently no, but if that's something that you want, our dev team will be happy to hear about it.
Just a fail-safe. Oh. Hello? Okay, just a fail-safe. And then are you able to use tags in that policy creation?
So yes, you can use tags. So when we have direct-to-direct, you've got to understand that no longer tags are relevant. You're talking about groups of computers or groups of, or computers themselves. But you can also say, I'm going to use a tag from these IP addresses to these IP addresses. Bear in mind, tags are lists of domains and or IP addresses. So if you say I'm allowing access from 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.0.0, that is an unvalidated device, so you should use it for certain features, like you'd use it for DNS, for example, but you wouldn't necessarily use it for, hey, I want to access my SQL server.
Okay. For the Microsoft 365 management, is there any requirement on the Microsoft side? They're notorious for having to have a certain licensing level to make things work, or does this work with any version that we run?
I'm 99.9, now Microsoft has a lot of packages, but I'm 99.9% sure you can run this in any version of Microsoft. The Cloud Detect, so for this cloud, for the Zero Trust Cloud Access, you can run it in any version of Microsoft, and you can configure that in any version. Cloud Detect, you can run in any version, but has different amounts of data depending on what Microsoft has. We built in our own algorithms, like Impossible Travel, we built it into our own Cloud Detect, so you don't need Microsoft's anyway.
And with the broker access, would this also include like EMR systems? And then if so, with IP restriction, is that a shared IP amongst all ThreatLocker customers, or do you have your own unique?
You have your own unique IPv4, and actually you'll have multiple because you'll have redundancy built in, but you'll have your own unique, and it's not shared between customers. Which is why we do an onboarding call with you.
That was actually similar to the question I was going to ask, but what about coming back in? If I wanted to use that IP that's assigned to my customer, they go to your server, and I need it to go to one of my endpoints.
You can't go back to that server because that's opening something on the web, but you can have another agent on the remote endpoint, which will allow it to go back through that server and come in. So you can't just say, I'm going to open a port here and proxy it there, but you can say, okay, if I need someone else to be able to access my server, I can give them this agent. You just open the ports regularly. And I think there's one over here when you finish with that one, waving quite. And guys, if we run out of time, I will be available during the day. I have a lot of meetings on site, but I will be available. I'll be at the booth. You feel free to come over and ask me any questions that I don't answer.
Does this extend to SSO, Enter ID controlled applications, or just 365?
Extends, well, so the only requirement of the applications, so yes, it will extend to SSO. In Microsoft 365, you can define what restrictions are applied to the IP address. So you can say not login, or you can say logins required. You can't log in at all. But also, most SaaS platforms right now have the ability to restrict by IP address. So even if it doesn't extend, even if SSO doesn't work in those cases, you can just go in and say, we're going to restrict to these IP addresses, and then no one will be able to get on them. And I can tell you, as a CEO of a security company, we are heavily targeted, and I am terrified. Like, we lock our GitHub down by static IPs right now, or previously before this, we lock our Jira down, because it scares the crap out of me that we're going to get a nation-state attack. So having this type of thing allows you to say, okay, I know that these devices are trusted, and you can revoke access in seconds if they're stolen or something happens.
Yeah, in an OT and ICS environment, how do you ensure that the agent does not interrupt real-time communication through the learning mode and enforcement mode?
Well, an OT environment is probably one of the easiest, and that's kind of not necessarily I don't know if that's a ZTA question or just a general ThreatLocker question, but an OT environment is much, much easier than anything because they don't change. So you have to learn less time. It normally does the scan of the hard drive and it's ready to lock down. But you can do a learning. Essentially, when you deploy, we're going to go into a learning mode, and during that period, you're going to get to see what was running, and you're going to get to do a simulation. So if there is something suspicious, you're going to be able to block that thing from running.
So my question is, how well does it work with Apple's privacy routers or routes or privacy relays on the iPhone?
You're the Mac guy.
iCloud Private Relay. Yeah, it works absolutely fine with it. I use iCloud Private Relay on my phone, and it seems to have no issues whatsoever. It just works. It's Apple.
I mean, look, it does just work. So I haven't had any problems. I haven't changed my default settings, so I don't know if it's on.
Yeah, no, I 100% use iCloud Private Relay, and it works absolutely fine.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So regarding roles and permissions, when we onboard techs, say for example, help desk, we create a role, add all the permissions to that role, and since we're an MSP, we have so many different orgs. When we do that, we have to assign that role to each org separately, which is a hassle. When we onboard a new tech, if we have 50 tenants, we have to do it 50 times for that. Is there a way to better do that?
You can add all organizations.
We don't want all organizations. We want to do selectively for certain orgs, for certain tenants. We don't want to give techs that permission.
So you want to add all except?
Yes, or maybe a checkbox. List of all orgs, checkbox all the orgs that we want that tech to have access to with that role.
So when you're saying when you go to add an org, when you go to add permissions right now, it gets you. You can add multiple. I know that. You're saying if it was easier to just check them in a list.
Correct, because right now when you do a role, when you go into the user's admin and you grant that role to an org, you have to do it individually for every org for that role. So say we create a help desk role, right? We grant all the permissions on that role. Role is created, we choose the tech, we have that role, then we have to select the organization for that role.
But you're saying you want the role to include organizations?
Correct.
Okay, so you can add...
But we have to do it each and every time.
Okay, so you're not really looking for a role, you're looking for a group of organizations that stick together. So a role defines permissions, a group of organizations. So you could have an organization that groups these together. Or you're saying, I think what you're saying is I'd like to be able to include organizations in a role.
Yes, that works as well. So if a group, say, make some sort of a tag, group all these organizations into one group, grant this role to that group.
I mean, I think, it makes sense. We don't currently do it, but no one's ever asked that before, so I think we can take that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a look at it.
See, I don't see why it's difficult to assign them to a role. But we don't currently allow it because nobody's asked, and normally people set group permissions to a role. They don't necessarily group organizations. The good news is the product guy that sets the priorities is on the stage.
Danny.
Zach Kinder.
Hey, Danny. Whoa. I had a quick question. So I noticed on the Zero Trust Cloud Control, you had SaaS apps defined. Will there ever be a point where you can define your own IPs? And let me tell you what I mean by that. So we have clients that some websites they go to for whatever reason when they're doing it through Azure Virtual Desktop, Azure, the bank or the trucking load site thinks, hey, you're a scammer, so we're gonna block your IP, and then they get pissed that they have to minimize and go to the local and all that crap. Is there ever gonna be a point where you can say, hey, this cluster of IPs, route it through ThreatLocker?
Paige, you on speaker? Sorry. I don't know what she's whispering, but it seems pointless. She's on a microphone.
Said Macs are great. No,
okay, yeah, so to answer your question, Zach.
Just to say the new magazine is just out, hot off the presses, one might say, and is available at the ThreatLocker booth if you would like to pick one up.
Okay, and to answer your question, Zach, right now we have a list of applications. We can add any application for you, and yes, you will be able to add your own. The way we've done it right now is we are testing every application to make sure it is completely seamless. So if you have anything you want to add, we will just add the IPs and the domains and create that application for you. And we will give you the ability to add it yourself. We just want to make sure the process is completely seamless for you when you're on board.
That's amazing. Thanks, Danny.
Okay, thank you.
You do realize that we are all that's standing between these people and lunch.
Well, I think we will leave it at this, and I will be out by the booth if anyone wants to come and ask more questions. I appreciate everyone taking the time today, and hopefully you are enjoying the event and enjoy the rest of it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Check 1, 2. Mic check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay, excellent. Very quickly, I want to give you guys your roadmap for the rest of the afternoon. 1:30, the labs kick off with Zero Trust versus Modern Attacks with Jacoby, where you'll see real attack techniques put head-to-head against Zero Trust controls. At 1:30, we also have advanced rubber ducky techniques with Kieran Human. At the same time, we have our concurrent sessions, 1:30 to 2 on the main stage, securing healthcare. Pensacola H1, J.D. Egger and Jordan Hind present Secure by Design, patch management. And in Sebastian I1, Rob Scott explores scaling safety for MSPs. And that is your lineup. Enjoy your lunch, and we'll see you at your respective sessions at 1:30 p.m. Enjoy.